3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, welcome back to heLeads. Thank you for joining us in this channel again today. Old supporters and new, we really appreciate all the support and encouragement of this initiative. So today I have with me actually a really special guest. This is Miss Seema Kumar. She's a very powerful and inspiring woman who is a mother of 2, an amazing leader in her community. So as far as I've been here living in Saratoga, there hasn't been a single community event where I haven't seen Miss Kumar and her family. And so that all has to do with betterment of the community, whether she's there giving great speeches, she's, doing hands-on work to serve the community, or just showing off her awesome dance moves. She's always working to make this area a better place. And she also happens to be the wife of Mr. Rishi Kumar, who, as many of us know, is running for Congress 2020. So that's also a very special role she carries. So thank you, Ms. Kumar, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule, and I look forward to getting to know more about you personally.
Thank you.
So just to start off, why don't we have you introduce a little bit about yourself to all our viewers with us?
Sure. As you said, I'm Seema Kumar, and I've been living in Saratoga for the last 19 plus years. We moved here when our older son was going to start kindergarten. So it's been a while. Yeah. And I grew up in India. And I came here to study my undergrad. So I came here when I was 18, and that's been a while now, but I went to school on the East Coast. I went to University of Maryland, and I got my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering.
Wow.
And then I started working, and then I pursued my master's as well in electrical engineering from Columbia University, so all on the East Coast. And slowly but surely met my husband, we got married, and then we decided to move to the West Coast for better work opportunities and, of course, the beautiful weather that we have over here.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Clearly, it sounds like, all the schools you went to emphasize leadership and caring, and so I can see that reflected in, when I see you today. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. So you mentioned that you grew up in India, right?
Yes.
So what was life like for you when you were growing up? How was that culture?
Yeah, no, it was a typical, I grew up in a big city. So I grew up in Bombay, born and raised in Bombay, which is now called Mumbai, by the way. But it's still, my birth certificate still says Bombay, so I continue to say Bombay. I grew up in a very a small family, a nuclear family, but we had a lot of relatives in the area. So I was very well loved, nurtured, and I was the youngest of 3 daughters in our family. So I was, we never had the discrimination between, being a boy or a girl or what have you. Everybody was encouraged to do their best, and everybody was encouraged to study. So my parents really focused on education for all us 3 sisters, and that's what, like, my oldest sister is a medical doctor. My middle sister, she's a postdoc, so she's done a PhD and then a postdoc, and then of course I'm actually the least educated in my family with a master's degree. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing, and it's so nice to see that your family encouraged girls to move forward, and that's how we continue to move girls forward in foreign countries. And so that's awesome that you're coming here and continuing that initiative. So thank you for sharing that once again. And so in contrast, what does a typical day in your life maybe look like now?
So I think since I've graduated from college, I have always worked, and I've worked full time. I didn't, even when I got married and I started, I had kids, I took only 10 weeks off when the kids were born. Wow. And both the times I went back after 10 weeks. I don't know why. It was just like work was calling me. So a typical day begins with obviously, getting ready for work. And nowadays, I think everybody works 24/7.
Yeah.
So I have calls starting in the morning because we're a global company that I work for. There are calls in the morning, there's calls all throughout the day, and of course calls at night or whatever. My calls start at any hours, like could be 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. So I start taking my meetings and calls in the morning, in between, getting ready and cooking breakfast or whatever that might be. When the kids were younger, of course, it was shuttling them to school at the same time, coming into work, and then starting my whole work day, which again, I would say I'm blessed to have a flexible work schedule, meaning the expectation in the environment, the work environment is not that I be there physically all the time. So I have some flexibility. So sometimes when I can't make it to work, it's not a big deal. I can work from home, and that I definitely feel is a great thing. And then again, coming back home and then doing the same routine again with the family, making sure everyone is fed and everyone has warm dinner, and and then taking some calls, finish some work, and then going to bed. So that's what the day is like. Yeah,
it's a jam-packed day, like you said, 24/7 working around the clock.
Yeah.
And I think that's, that just speaks to the role that women carry in our community and society today. You have the expectation you work 24/7, but you also have a family that you're responsible for taking care of. Yeah. So the way you balance that and the way you describe that is really, really incredible. And I think a lot of people could take some lessons from that. Yeah. And so I would say that to focus on another aspect, how would you say your life has been affected by your family choosing to focus efforts into politics in that whole realm?
Yeah, it's been an interesting transition because initially when I met my husband and we got married, this was not in the radar at all. Yeah. But slowly but surely, my husband got really involved in the community and took a leadership role in solving problems for the people. And it was very rewarding for him and for me because I have literally been joined at the hip with everything that he does. Yeah. He has a great civic sense as well a citizen-centric sense, meaning like it's not about making a name for yourself. It's about, like I said, solving problems for the people. So his motto actually is getting things done, which is people come to him from all facts of life, and they're raising problems, they're bringing issues to him, and he's all about finding the right solution, working with them to find the right solution, and doing that. So it's been a gradual but sure transition into the political life, and we are right in the middle of it. Like you mentioned, he's running for a political office now for 2020. So it's all hands on deck, and we are just truly into it. Buried deep all the way to our heads. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's amazing, and I really value that approach to politics, doing things for the people and getting things done. I think that's a really admirable motto to have and something that our society definitely needs. There's a lot of things we need to get done. So it's good that someone is taking initiative, to start doing some of them.
Exactly.
And so for this next question, I'm going to reference one of my favorite shows and a very popular show. It's called Parks and Recreation. Also has to do with, but that's more local government, but it has to do with government as a whole.
Right.
And so in it, the central character, Leslie Knope, she's a very strong and independent woman who has a very strong, passion for education. She has her own views and opinions and goals. And her husband decides to make a similar choice and run for Congress. Oh. And so she, as someone who's very strong and opinionated, tends to weigh in on things like that. But then traditionally, in the past, we've seen that women who are the wives of candidates running for political positions are supposed to be more placid and maybe more quiet and just like nice figureheads on the side. So you also are someone who I've seen is very involved in voicing your opinions and taking a stand. So what kind of line do you have to walk, and have you, ever encountered any obstacles in what role you have to play in your husband's decision?
Yeah, obviously that's a great example. I haven't watched the show myself, but I can definitely tell you the line is very fine. And the reason is because obviously you as a spouse want to support what your husband is doing, but then as a leader, and being always a leader, I have also had opinion. Yeah. So sometimes, yes, we do clash or conflict on our, what we have to do, but I think my husband, he has a better political sense, a political strategy, which we end up following. But many a times, because his vision and strategy is it's really key to this whole campaign that we are running. I end up taking, and because I have a full-time job, I end up taking a sort of a backward step in which I help a lot with the execution of that vision and strategy. That execution comes from the fact that obviously that I trust my husband and support my husband and support on what he's doing for the community. It's not a blind test. I do question him many a times, and that's where the fine line comes in. It's like, how much do you push back? How much do you both of us obviously care about that. So we want to do the right thing, and that's where you have to sort of balance those things out. So
yeah, definitely. So I would say that from my personal, experience of seeing you guys, you are a very strong team. It seems like an equal team. It doesn't seem at all like, there's any sort of imbalance there. And so I think it's very admirable that I know that there are a lot of expectations of not just you as a woman, but as a wife and as, a family figure. So I think the way that you walk that line is very successful and it's very admirable. So I think that's very nice.
Thank you.
And so going back to a more personal note, maybe not related to politics or anything in your life, was there a time or multiple times where you felt like your routine was broken because of a very challenging incident that took place in your life or some time of hardship for you?
I can't think of any specific example, but there's always been times, in everybody's life, there are ups and downs. And most of the time, it has been when there are just several things going on in your personal life and, of course, the work life also, right? Like you have lots of, critical projects that you're working on and so on. And when the two things come together, the conflict, like this, my kids, have, when they're in high school, they're applying for colleges, blah, 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 which, like a young person like yourself knows exactly what I'm talking about. And there's so much going on at work. I have critical projects at work and everything is coming together. I have to work long hours at work and I have to do this and I have to do that. That's when, the hardship comes in. But my thinking is like, this too shall pass, right? So like, if you are going through a hard time, the time passes. Time passes really fast. It takes you through any hurdles that you're having in life, and you just have to, keep going on and do your best. And that's what, that's how I keep surpassing those hardships that are there.
Yeah. So I think that's a great lesson to take away for all of us, that just to keep going, right?
Yes.
The show must go on. We can't stop. And especially with this 24/7 busyness you were talking about, we can't just halt our lives. There's no time, right?
Exactly.
So we have to let time pass.